Coach Devin here. We are talking BMI. BMI is body mass index. And what body mass index is, it's a arbitrary number basically. It's just an arbitrary number that doctors and people have come up with to use to tell you how fit you are and whether or not you need to lose weight, whether or not you land in the morbidly obese category, etc. The problem with body mass index, and the reason body mass index is a disaster, and I you know what, this sounds bad to say, but body mass index is 100% a disaster. Why is it a disaster? Because it doesn't take into account for people who are fit. Doesn't work. So to give you an idea, I'm going to tell you a story about something that happened to me a couple years ago, and how body mass index for me, made it challenging to get life insurance. So I went to get life insurance. Obviously, I need life insurance. Everybody needs life insurance. Part of it was whole life insurance. And one of the things they wanted to know is my height and my weight. Now, I knew right away they were looking for the body mass index. They're going to say, okay, how fit is this guy? We're going to plug him in and we're going to see. Now, of course, right away, I thought, oh boy, here we go. This is not going to be a good situation. And not surprisingly, it wasn't. I am 5'10" and a half. Don't forget that half. 5'10" and a half, and I weigh 235 or so pounds. That's not small, I know that. I've spent a lot of time and energy working up to gaining the muscle to get to the weight I'm at, but that's where I am. 5'10", 235, not 135. I haven't been 135 since I was 14 years old, so not 135. I am 235 pounds, and according to the body mass index, Devin Sherrington, am morbidly obese. Now, let that sink in for a second. That's ridiculous. Obviously, looking at me, I am not morbidly obese. You can't have abs and be morbidly obese. But according to body mass index, I am morbidly obese. So I fill out my paperwork. I know what's going to happen. They come back and they give me this sky-high number for a premium because they say, you are horribly unfit. You're morbidly obese, dude. We can insure you, but you're probably going to die of a heart attack because you don't take care of yourself. So I go, okay, well, that's ridiculous. So I appeal it, and there's a lot of back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Finally, they say, okay, we're going to send a nurse out. She's going to assess you. So the nurse comes out to assess me. She takes a look at me, and she says, okay, you're not what I normally see at 5'10" and 235 pounds. That's not where you are. So she ends up with waist to hip ratio, basically. They look at it to see what it is. Obviously, mine is fine, better than most people. I have a big ass. I got a big butt. It's been a lot of years of work and lifting weights and doing squats, so I have a big butt. I'm not one of those guys that has a flat ass. That's not me. So obviously, my hip to waist ratio was well within means. She went back. They agreed with the appeal, and off I went. I got life insurance. End of the story, I ended up with life insurance, which is good. I needed the life insurance. Didn't want to pay an arm and a leg because of the fact that my BMI was too high. Now, that is a perfect example of why BMI does not work in reality, right? BMI doesn't land in reality because what BMI says is the average person at this height and the average person at this weight is this. But it doesn't take into effect or into account anything to do with people who are fit. Because muscle weighs the same. While it weighs the same as fat, it is much more dense than fat. And since muscle is more dense than fat, you can be a smaller person with more muscle and obviously more healthy than someone else, but your weight can be higher. For example, me, an average person at 235 pounds and 5'10" doesn't look the way I look because I've spent my entire, and I'm not bragging in any way, shape, or form, it's just, the average person has not spent the time, the energy of the last 32, almost 33 years of working out and fitness and eating right and all those things. That doesn't happen, right? So the average person, it doesn't look that way. So to give you an idea how outdated and crazy BMI is, the weight I should be, I looked it up today because I thought, I'm curious, what weight should I be with BMI? What would put me in a good level? At 5'10", I should be 177 pounds, according to my BMI. Now that is ridiculous. I think everybody can agree that is ridiculous. I mean, for me to be 5'10" and 177, people aren't 5'10 and 177. Look, the average person is not 177 pounds as a man anymore. BMI has not been updated in a long time. And because it hasn't been updated, it's not taking into account people who are working out now, because people exercise more. I talk about this quite often. When I was younger, and this is not a long time ago, I'm not that old, I'm only 46, people didn't really exercise a lot. It wasn't really a thing. I remember going to the gym and people looking at me going, but why? Why are you going to exercise? Well, that's not even a question people ask anymore. It's just something people do. People go to the gym. It's you take care of yourself. You like to lift weights. It is what it is. But not long ago, it wasn't like that. Now, the problem that we run into with BMI is that doctors still use it. And if you are going for elective surgery, like say plastic surgery, abdominoplasty, breast reduction, whatever, the doctor's going to look at your number and say, are you safe to have this surgery? Or any surgery, really. The doctor's going to look at you and say, are you safe to have the surgery? Now, I understand why the doctor's doing it. You're under anesthesia for a long time. And when you're under that anesthesia, you want to be healthy. You want to be okay. You don't want to be, dying while you're under anesthesia. And the doctor doesn't want you dying because they don't want to get sued and they don't want you to get hurt because that's their, do no harm. That's the number one thing for doctors, do no harm. So they don't want to hurt anybody. The only thing they can go by, really, it's easy for them, is BMI. And they've been taught BMI in med school. They've been said, all right, well, just go by the BMI. It's easy, right? Go by BMI. The problem, again, though, it doesn't take into account people who are fit. So you could go in for a consult with a doctor or you're going to get surgery and the doctor looks at you and goes, well, you look great, but you need to lose weight. Well, how much weight would I have to lose? Well, shoot, I have to get around 190, 195. So I need to lose 45 pounds to have an elective surgery according to what my BMI says. Well, that's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And this is what is frustrating for me because BMI is so outdated now. It is incredibly outdated. It doesn't work anymore as a thing that is helpful for anybody, really. The doctors, is not helpful for the doctors to be doing this stuff because what they're doing is they're using an outdated number. So what do you do with that? How do you fix the problem? I'll be honest, I don't know. I'm not sure. I can say this with a fair amount of confidence, I think, that there needs to be, to go along with hip to waist ratio. That would be an easier way to do it. It's what happened for me for getting insurance. It would be simple. It would be to the point. It would be easy. That, I think, would be a simple way to do it. However, are they doing that? No. Still going by BMI. Maybe there's a problem with hip to waist ratio. I don't know. I wouldn't say there is because, unless you're always going to run into the outlier, somebody who has really wide hips and a small waist, but still, a doctor could say that person's still unfit. I don't know. But I can say this with a fair amount of confidence that I think that the BMI does not work anymore. So there needs to be an overhaul with BMI. And I don't know the answer, but I do know this. If you go to your doctor and you're someone who's healthy, someone who's fit, or someone who has more muscle than the average person under that BMI number and chart, you need to advocate for yourself with the doctor. You need to be able to say, listen, hold on a second. When they say, but your BMI is this, you need to be able to say, no, hold up. Just because my BMI is this number does not mean that I am unhealthy. It does not mean that I am unfit. It doesn't mean that I can't have this surgery or do whatever it is that you're looking to do. They used to use BMI in policing too, to see if somebody could get into policing. Well, in the end of the day, you want somebody who's pretty fit in policing. That's a fact. You don't want someone who's horribly unfit in policing. So I understand, but to look at it as a BMI number doesn't make any sense. And that's, in the end of the day, that's the problem. BMI doesn't work long term. It's not something that is going to be sustainable. We need a new option. I think someone should create something new. Hip to waist ratio, a new BMI number 2. Maybe that's what's necessary. Maybe that's what is lacking out there. I don't know. But keep in mind, if you go to your doctor, if you're going for something and they bring up BMI, advocate for yourself. Say, no, hold on a second, BMI is outdated. BMI doesn't work anymore. BMI is not something that we can say, yeah, that's the way to go with it. It's not that. BMI isn't the answer. It hasn't been the answer for a long time. And I think we all have to accept that. Go out, advocate for yourself, stay on top of it. BMI is never, if somebody says to you, hey, what about your BMI? Say, hold on. That's not a real thing. It's an arbitrary number, and it's completely concocted, and it doesn't work anymore. Those are the facts of BMI. Have you had any problems with BMI? You ever run into a situation where somebody says, hey, your BMI is too high? Comment. I'd love to hear from you. Everybody have yourself an amazing day. Don't fight the awesome.